I signed 3,000 death certificates in my career. I remember every single one, not the paperwork, the faces. The last breath of a woman who whispered, "Tell my son I forgave him." The man who squeezed my hand so hard, he broke my watch. The retired teacher who asked me if she had been a good person and died before. I could answer. I carried those people home with me. I carried them to bed. I carried them into the next morning and the morning after that for 50 years. And I need to tell you something that will be difficult to hear. Most of them did not have to die when they did. I am not talking about the ones who had terminal cancer. I am not talking about the ones who were born with conditions they could not control. I am talking about the ones who were healthy enough to live to 90, but were dead by 68 or 72 or 75. People who looked fine. People who felt fine. People whose bodies were quietly falling apart because of 4 things they did every single day without knowing it. You are probably doing at least 3 of them right now. And by the time you feel the damage, it will be too late to reverse it. Unless someone tells you now, I am 102 years old. Let me be that someone. I became a doctor in 1971. Back then, we told patients that cigarettes helped with stress and that margarine was healthier than butter. I watched my own profession get it wrong for decades. I watched us give advice that killed people, and I promised myself I would pay more attention to what I actually saw in my patients than what the textbooks told me. So I started keeping notes, not charts. Notes, personal observations about how my patients lived and how they died. By 1980, I had hundreds of entries. By 1990, I had over 1,000. By 2000, the pattern was so clear it kept me awake at night. The patients who died before 75 almost always shared the same 4 habits. Not diseases, not genetics. Habits. Exposed daily choices that seemed harmless. Exposed routines they thought were normal. Exposed behaviors no doctor ever warned them about because we were too busy treating symptoms to look at causes. I tried to warn them. I sat across from people I cared about and told them what I saw coming. Most of them smiled at me. Most of them said, "Doctor, I feel fine." Most of them are in the ground now. I do not want that for you. I am going to walk you through what I learned in 50 years, so you do not have to learn it the way they did. But I need to warn you. The first one is going to surprise you because it is something you are almost certainly doing right now as you watch this. The first habit that kills people after 60 is sitting. I know. You expected something more dramatic, something rare and dangerous. But that is exactly why this one is so deadly. It does not feel dangerous. It feels like rest. It feels like comfort. It feels like what you have earned after a lifetime of hard work. And it is killing you faster than almost anything else you do. In 1983, I started separating my patient files into 2 categories. People who moved throughout the day and people who sat for most of it. Within 5 years, the results were devastating. The sitters aged faster, not slightly, measurably. Their blood markers looked like they belonged to people a decade older. Their hearts weakened sooner. Their cognition declined earlier, and here is what broke my heart. Many of them exercised. They walked every morning. They went to the gym. They thought movement for 1 hour could undo stillness for 10. It cannot. Your body does not work on averages. It responds to what you do most of the time. And if what you do most of the time is sit, then your circulation is slowing and your muscles are decaying and your lymphatic system is failing to clear the toxins that are building up inside you right now. I know that is frightening. It should be. But I am not telling you this to scare you. I am telling you because of a man named Arthur, who I think about every single week. Arthur was 66 when he became my patient. Retired engineer. Gentleman. Quiet voice. He shook my hand the first time we met and called me sir. Even though I was his doctor, I liked him immediately. Arthur walked every morning for 40 minutes, rain or shine. He was proud of that, and I was proud of him. But after that walk, Arthur went home and sat down. He sat in his recliner and read. He sat at his desk and did puzzles. He sat in front of the television until bedtime. 11 hours a day in a chair. I told him it was too much. He looked at me with those kind eyes and said, "Doctor, I move more than most people my age." 8 months later, Arthur had a stroke in his kitchen. His wife found him on the floor. He survived, but he never walked again. The last time I saw Arthur, he was in a wheelchair. He could not dress himself. He could not hold a book. That man who called me sir and shook my hand with such dignity could not button his own shirt. His wife became his nurse at 73 years old. She did not sign up for that. Neither did he. I think about Arthur because he did not have to end up that way. 50 minutes of sitting, then 5 minutes of movement. That is all it takes. Stand up, walk to another room, climb a few stairs. Every hour. I have done this since 1979, and I am still here at 102 doing it today. If Arthur's story made you feel something just now, then I need you to do 2 things. First, set a timer on your phone right now. 50 minutes. Start today. Second, subscribe to this channel because the next habit I am about to tell you is the one that destroyed the sharpest mind I ever encountered. And I'm still not over it. The second habit that kills people after 60 is one they brag about. Sleeping less than 7 hours. I have heard it thousands of times. "Doctor, I only need 5 hours. Doctor, I have always been a light sleeper. Doctor, I will sleep when I am dead." That last one always made me quiet because I knew they were right. They would sleep when they were dead, and it would come sooner than they imagined. Your brain has a waste removal system called the glymphatic system. It activates almost exclusively during deep sleep. Its job is to flush out metabolic waste, including a protein called beta-amyloid that accumulates in brains affected by dementia. When you sleep less than 7 hours, you are cutting this cleaning cycle short. Think of it this way. Imagine you only let the janitor into your office building for 3 hours instead of 8. The first week, the mess is manageable. The first month you notice dust and clutter. After a year, the building is condemned. That is your brain on 5 hours of sleep. And here is what makes this one cruel. You do not feel it happening. You adapt. You get used to being tired. You forget what sharp feels like. You think the fog is just aging. It is not aging. It is accumulation. It is years of waste building up in a brain that was never given enough time to clean itself. And by the time someone notices, it is almost always too late. I know this because of a woman named Margaret, and what happened to her is the single greatest regret of my career. Margaret was a retired schoolteacher. She was 62 when she first came to see me, and she was the sharpest patient I ever had. She remembered every appointment date without writing it down. She corrected my grammar once, and she was right. She quoted poetry from memory and laughed at her own jokes before I could. I adored her. Margaret slept 5 hours a night and treated it like a superpower. She woke at 4 every morning to read and write letters and tend her garden. She said the quiet hours were her favorite part of life. I told her she was borrowing time from her future. She patted my hand and said, "Doctor, you worry too much." By 68, Margaret started forgetting appointment times. By 71, she could not remember her grandchildren's names. By 74, she walked into my office and looked at me like I was a stranger. She did not know who I was. This woman, who once corrected my grammar, did not recognize the doctor she had seen for 12 years. She died at 76 in a memory care facility. Her body was strong. Her heart was healthy. Her brain was gone. I visited her near the end. She was sitting by a window looking at a garden she did not know she had once loved. I held her hand the way she used to pat mine, and I cried in my car for 20 minutes after. 7 to 8 hours every night, not negotiable. If you wake up tired after 8 hours in bed, something is disrupting your sleep, and you need to find out what. Because what comes next is worse than losing your memory. It is losing every person who ever mattered to you while you are still alive. The third habit that kills people after 60 is not something you do. It is something you stop doing. You stop connecting. I know the word loneliness sounds soft. It sounds like a feeling. something for greeting cards and therapists. It is not. Loneliness is a biological emergency. When a human being is isolated for extended periods, the body interprets it as a threat, not an emotional inconvenience, a threat. Your cortisol rises and stays elevated. Your immune system suppresses, as if conserving energy for a crisis that never ends. Your inflammation markers climb. Your blood pressure increases. Your cellular repair slows because your body is no longer investing in long-term maintenance. It is preparing for short-term survival. Loneliness tells your body that something is wrong with the environment, and your body responds by slowly shutting down the systems it considers non-essential. And after 60, everything your body considers non-essential is everything that keeps you alive. I watched this happen over and over. Patients with serious diseases who had love in their lives outlived patients with perfect health, who had no one. It was not even close. The difference was so consistent, so predictable, so devastating, that I started asking every patient over 60 the same question. When was the last time someone called you just to hear your voice? The ones who could not answer that question were the ones I worried about most, and I was almost always right to worry. Let me tell you about two men who proved it. Robert and James were both 66 when they became my patients. Same age, same neighborhood, same generation. That is where the similarities ended. Robert had type 2 diabetes, moderate heart disease, slightly overweight. On paper, he was a textbook risk, but Robert's wife cooked him dinner every night and kissed him when he came home from his walk. He played poker every Thursday with friends he had known since high school. He volunteered at his church, and the children there called him Uncle Bobby. Robert laughed every single day. James was the opposite. Perfect blood work, no diseases, no risk factors. Doctor would have looked at his chart and said this man will live forever. But James's wife had died 3 years earlier. His children lived across the country. They called on holidays. He had no friends nearby. He spent most days in a house full of photographs of people who were no longer there. I asked James once, when was the last time someone called you just to hear your voice? He looked at the floor and did not answer. Robert lived to 89. He died surrounded by his family holding his wife's hand. James was dead at 71. A heart attack alone in his kitchen. His neighbor found him 2 days later because the newspaper had piled up outside. Two men, same age, same doctor. Wanted love, wanted silence. Please hear me. Call someone today, not tomorrow. Today. Join something. Go somewhere. Talk to a stranger. Your body needs connection, the same way it needs oxygen. And if you are starving it, you are choosing to die slowly in a room full of photographs. But you still have time to choose differently. And the next thing I need to tell you is the one that makes me angriest, because this one was our fault. The fourth habit that kills people after 60 is the one that keeps me up at night. It is the way they eat. And the reason it keeps me up at night is because they ate that way because we told them to. My profession, doctors, the people they trusted with their lives. For 40 years, we told patients to cut fat. We told them whole grains were the foundation of health. We told them egg yolks were dangerous. We told them orange juice was a health food. We put a food pyramid on every wall of every school and every clinic in this country. And we told people to build their diets on bread and pasta and cereal and rice. And they did, because they trusted us. I had patients who did everything right. They followed every guideline. They bought low-fat everything. They ate whole wheat toast every morning and a sensible dinner of lean chicken and rice every night. They avoided butter. They avoided red meat. They count calories. They exercised. And they still got diabetes. They still got heart disease. They still got chronic inflammation that aged them a decade ahead of schedule. And they sat across from me confused and heartbroken and said, "Doctor, I did everything you told me to do. Why is this happening?" I could not look some of them in the eye because I knew the answer. It was happening because the advice was wrong. After 60, your insulin sensitivity decreases. Your ability to process carbohydrates diminishes. The foods that were tolerable at 40 become poisonous at 65, and we never told them. Dorothy was the most disciplined patient I ever had. She kept a food journal for 30 years. Every meal, every calorie, every gram of fat, she brought it to her appointments like a student bringing homework to a teacher she wanted to impress. And every page of that journal was a record of someone slowly killing herself with the food we told her was safe. Whole wheat toast with jam every morning, low-fat yogurt, a glass of orange juice, grilled chicken with brown rice for dinner, a small cookie for dessert because her doctor said moderation was fine. At 67, Dorothy was pre-diabetic. At 70, she was on insulin. At 72, she had a cardiac event that put her in the hospital for 9 days. She sat in my office after she was discharged and opened that food journal and pushed it across the desk to me. She said, "Doctor, show me where I went wrong." I could not speak for a moment because she had not gone wrong. I changed my own diet at 65 when I could not ignore the evidence anymore. I cut processed carbohydrates almost entirely. I added healthy fats, olive oil, avocados, nuts, wild-caught fish. I ate more vegetables. I prioritized protein to protect my muscles. Within 3 months, my inflammation dropped by half. I felt like a different person. I recommended the same to every patient who would listen. Dorothy listened. She changed everything at 73. Her blood sugar stabilized within months. She came off insulin within a year. She lived to 88, and she told me changing her diet gave her a second life. Not everyone listened. Most did not. They trusted the old guidelines the way Dorothy used to. Many of them are gone, and I carry that with me. But I'm telling you now what I wish I had told them sooner. If you are over 60 and still eating the way you were told to eat in 1985, you are following a map that was drawn wrong, and it is leading you somewhere you do not want to go. I need to tell you about Eleanor, my wife, the love of my life for 58 years. I have told you about patients today, people I cared for, people I lost. But Eleanor was not my patient. She was my person, the one I came home to after every death certificate and every 3 a.m. hospital call, and every family I had to tell that their father was gone. She would sit with me in the kitchen and hold my hand and not say a word because she knew. I did not need words, I needed her, and she was always there. Eleanor did not listen to me about her health. She sat most of the day because her knees hurt and she was tired of hurting. I understood. She slept poorly for years, waking 3 or 4 times a night, and when I asked her to see a specialist, she said, "I have lived with it this long." She ate the way her mother taught her. Bread, sweet tea, pasta, something sweet after dinner because life is short and you should enjoy it. And she worried about our children, about the grandchildren, about money, about me. She worried about everything she could not control, and I could see it aging her. But she would smile and say that is what mothers do. She died at 91. People tell me that is a wonderful age. They did not see what I saw. They did not watch her lose her ability to walk at 76. They did not watch her forget the names of songs she used to sing to our children. They did not watch her look at a photograph of our wedding and ask me who that young couple was. They did not sit beside her bed in the final weeks while she stared at the ceiling, and I held the hand that used to hold mine in the kitchen after my worst days. Those last 18 years were not a gift. They were a goodbye that took almost 2 decades. If she had let me help her, she might have had 15 more years of being Eleanor, not a patient, not a body in a bed, Eleanor. The woman who held my hand without saying a word because she always knew exactly what I needed. I love her. I miss her every single morning. And I will carry the weight of not being able to save her for whatever time I have left. I want to tell you how I live, not to impress you, not to say look at me, but because I need you to believe that what I am telling you is real. I wake up at 6 every morning. I've slept 7.5 hours a night for 40 years. I eat 2 meals a day, vegetables, protein, healthy, fats, olive oil on everything. I have not eaten bread in 30 years, and I do not miss it. Every 50 minutes, I stand up from whatever I am doing and I move. I walk every day. Sometimes it is 20 minutes. Sometimes it is an hour. It does not matter. What matters is that I go. I call my grandchildren 3 times a week. I talk to my neighbor every morning over the fence. I go to a discussion group at the library every Thursday. I am never alone for more than a few hours by choice. I stopped watching the news 20 years ago. I stopped worrying about what I could not change. That was the hardest one. Harder than the food. Harder than the exercise. Learning to let go of worry felt like learning to breathe with different lungs. But I did it because I watched what worry did to Eleanor, and I refused to let it do the same to me. My father died at 70. My mother died at 73. My genetics gave me a ticket to my mid-70s at best. I am 102. I did not beat my genetics with luck. I beat them with choices. The same choices I had been telling you about for the last few minutes. The same choices I begged my patients to make. The same choices I begged Eleanor to make. They are available to you right now, today, this moment. And they will change everything if you let them. I have buried my wife. I have buried over 3,000 patients. I have held the hands of people who looked at me in their final moments with something in their eyes. I will never forget, not fear, regret. The ones who did not listen. The ones who said, I feel fine. The ones who thought they had more time. They all had the same look at the end. I do not want that look in your eyes. I want you to be the one who listened, the one who stood up from the chair, the one who went to bed on time, the one who called an old friend, the one who stopped eating what was killing them. You do not have to change everything today. Take one, the one that scared you most while I was talking. The one where you thought, he's talking about me, that is the one. Start there, start now. Not Monday, not next month. Now. I did not record this because I enjoy talking about death. I recorded this because I have seen too much of it, and too much of it did not have to happen. You are still here. You are still breathing. Your body is still willing to fight for you if you give it the chance, but you do not have as much time as you think. Nobody does. I learned that from 3,000 death certificates and 58 years with a woman I could not save, so I am asking you one last time, not as a doctor, as someone who has loved and lost and buried and survived and is still here at 102, telling you it was worth it. Every choice was worth it. What are you going to do with the time you have left?